Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Margaret Fisher. I'm one of the organizers of our new Fairfax Tree Rescuers PRISM. As I mentioned before, we'll take questions as we go along. So I'll stop periodically because at points where you may have questions about the specific jobs that are available for people to take on. So we started this PRISM, well, we started organizing this PRISM early this year, and now we've gotten to the point where we have a reasonable plan, we think, of what to do, and we need people to help implement it. Okay. All right, so as you all know, we have quite a problem with the invasive plants that are basically taking over, and there doesn't seem to be anything to stop them. And that's despite the fact that there are hundreds of even thousands of people who have been working on this over the past many years, trying to control them, and yet they get worse. So the question is, what can we do? Can we actually turn this around and at least rescue the trees and get rid of the worst of the invasive plant infestations? And what would it take? So just brainstorming, we came up with quite a list of what it would take to make that happen. And some of these are listed here. We need to obviously work with the parks. We need to get more money. We hope to get corporations to help to donate and neighborhoods to get engaged. We need to increase the effectiveness of the volunteer workforce. We need more trained people. We need to figure out what to do with the rights of way, which are basically abandoned lands. What to do. So what we've done so far is divided into work teams to take on each of these problems. And those teams all need a lot of help with all sorts of things, most of which do not actually require any knowledge of invasive plants, right? So you don't need to have skills in that regard or experience for most of these jobs. Some of them do, but that's clear when we get to it. So I'm just going to kind of start running through some of these organizational needs and hope that some of them will appeal to you. We have found, and Plant Novinators, or really any organization I've ever been with is all volunteer, that it's not that difficult to come up with good solutions, or at least things to try. What's difficult, and it's not necessarily difficult to get people to pitch in for especially for one-time occasions, but even ongoing things. So for example, with Plant Novinators, we have over 60 people who are putting those red labels on the plants in the garden centers. And for the door hanger distribution, there have been over 300 people who volunteered to do that and go around in their neighborhoods. So that hasn't actually been the limiting factor. It's not necessarily easy to recruit that many people, but it can be done. What is the limiting factor is the people to organize that, all right? So we can think of an idea. You just need people who are willing to do the emailing and do the writing and all the various things that go into organizing other people to do the actual work. So if you were to join us, it is our absolute intention to make this fun for everybody. This is all volunteer. Nobody has to do any of this. We don't need to make each other unhappy. So we are a cheerful bunch, just as most environmentalists are very cheerful people. And we plan to stay that way. We also, however, don't want to be all loosey-goosey about it. We want the volunteers who are doing this work to feel needed and respected. And so we plan to treat this in a semi-professional manner, that, you know, we sign up and we make commitments to each other, and we, you know, make the expectations clear, and people, everything's open to negotiation, but we don't want people to think that that it doesn't matter what they're doing. It definitely matters what they're doing. And we want the results to be positive. We want to actually be effective. So those are our goals. That's what we hope to do. Now, it doesn't matter what role you take on, there are certain things that are good to keep in mind no matter, you know, whatever the role. So one is that when people volunteer, it's important to keep in communication. So, well, we need to know if you've said you're planning to do something, whether or not that worked out, you did it, and let us know. And don't ghost us. So this is another very common problem in volunteer organizations, that someone will sign up to do something, and then something comes up in their life, or they change their mind, whatever. I mean, it's fine. Well, you know, these things happen, no problem. But then they don't tell us. And so we think that the job's getting done, and it isn't getting done, and we find out months later, and meantime, we've lost a lot of opportunities. And if the person had just let us know, we would have found someone else to do it. So please let us know if you have to back out, no problem. We communicate and keep records on the Google Drive. So we hope that everybody will help with that. What is not helpful is for us to have a million different documents on people's individual computers where we can't see them and keep an institutional record. When you have access to the Google Drive, in many cases that will include contact information, and obviously you have to be very careful. It's really easy to share stuff by accident, by not blind copying or whatever. Please be very mindful not to share other people's personal information. And yeah, we hope that when you join this, it'll be with the intention of following through for as long as you're able to. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first team. And now, some of these things I'm going to put in blue. And blue are the things that we need lots and lots of people to do, sort of like the red stickers, but they're not the things that we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about organizing these other people. But you yourselves, I would certainly encourage to be the community representative in your neighborhood. So there must be 1,000 neighborhoods at minimum. I don't know how many residential neighborhoods there are in Fairfax County, but it's a lot. And ultimately, if we're to succeed in saving the trees on residential property and the adjacent commercial areas and the adjacent parks, it's got to be one community at a time, and there's got to be somebody there who lets their neighbors know that this is going on and transmits educational material and encourages engagement. So that's what community representatives will be doing, each in their own way, depending on the situation in their neighborhood. And so, yeah, think about signing up for that. And then there are the people who need to organize those people. So that's the first role that I wanted to mention, which is area coordinators. So let's say I'm doing my neighborhood in this part of Clifton, and someone else is doing another part of Clifton, et cetera. It'd be helpful if we can find people who are willing to help with coordination of all the Clifton neighborhood organizers, just to have communication and cheer each other on and share ideas, that kind of thing. Have meetings once in a while, not often, you know. It's not a heavy job at all, but it's, I think, going to be very important to the long-term success of this program. So I guess I will stop right there and see what questions we have so far, if any. And if you want to open up your mic and speak, go right ahead.
Margaret, nobody's posted questions, but maybe some folks will have some here. But I guess I thought that maybe we had some folks who were interested in being on the community representatives team.
There are many, many people who signed up to be community representatives. Yes. But I didn't, since this meeting was about organizing other people, they are not necessarily on this call. But I hope, as I said, that essentially anyone who's interested will do that in their neighborhood, because when you think about that, if you don't step forward in your neighborhood, do you think there's somebody else who's going to? What are the odds? Probably not. Was somebody speaking?
It's Lucy here. I plan on getting my neighborhood together. I'm working on getting everyone's email in this street near me. So once I do that, do you want me to relay that information to this group that I've, communicated with this cul-de-sac, sort of street? And like, how would I go about that? Just let the your group know that I have organized, and I plan on giving them information about what is killing their trees, and they probably have 4 invasive problems that I can see, and how we can deal with it. I plan on letting everyone know. I was planning on this incentive even before you started this group. So how can I receive help doing that from this group, I guess, would be a question I would have.
Yeah.
And how could I help this group? Or do I just go off on my own and organize this neighborhood?
This is still a little bit of a work in progress.
Right.
We have generated like a list of ideas for community representatives. And the team that's been working on this has been thinking about what are the most important things to suggest to the community representatives. And I believe they're probably going to be having a Zoom for that purpose soon, or at least some kind of communication very soon that will answer all those questions, including like how do you report back, who's going to get me in touch with the other neighborhoods, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, so that should be soon, I believe. I hope it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Donna had sort of a related question, which was how many community reps and area reps do we have already, and how many more are needed?
I don't remember offhand how many people signed up, but it was on the order of 40 or something like that.
I had notes from last time. There were 50 HOA types. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, so the community that people volunteer for may be as small as just their neighborhood, or it might be their entire homeowners association, even a big homeowners association. The size of the area you deal with will depend on your own situation. So we already have a lot of contact information for homeowners association, and we're working intimately with the Fairfax Invasive Removal Alliance, which is getting homeowner associations together. So that's one route of volunteers. And then there are people who just individually said they were interested. But we're really just getting started. We haven't really even advertised this very much yet. So hopefully we'll a whole lot more people interested over the next few months. Joe, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. Would it make any sense now that we see that sort of there are groups and layers of action that is taking place around this, of having different representatives of areas, sort of to create like a Google, I guess that's Google form, or which is very convenient to start identifying what are the neighborhoods, what are the people that is lead, and what are the people who are sort of in the neighborhood that can be associated. So we can start sort of shaping up the different groups that we have and to start identifying which groups are already in place, like the group that Lucy was mentioning that is already very much more formed than others, to start sort of even working with them as the pilots to start shaping the initiative and to look at the program and all the different things that we need to do, because it looks like we already are getting some critical mass, and so to start sort of grouping and organizing
Totally.
to visualize what do we have. And I just don't know
Yeah,
what
totally.
is
I
the
think we're probably going to want to use Google My Maps and spreadsheets and all that. But can we defer that conversation to the community representative team? That team needs to figure all that out and then get the volunteers all lined
the
up.
community representative team, but we are talking about, sorry.
There's a few of us from the community reps on this call, so we are on it, and we have talked in the notes. So we're heading in the right direction. So
Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, so did I jump ahead? Apologies.
No problem. Yeah, there's a whole team for that. Okay, and it will need many volunteers to do things like the mapping. Okay, so then the next team is the site visit team. So by this we mean people who do have experience going out to visit in basically institutions, not homeowners, because that would be through the Northern Virginia Bird Alliance Wildlife Sanctuary Program, but HOAs or commercial sites, landscape companies, things like that. So that's in blue, again, because we're not here today to recruit people for that. But we need people to organize that. Okay, so requests will come in through a form, and then they need to be put on a map and matched up with a volunteer and communicated with and getting the report, etc. So that's that volunteer team. Any questions about that? I should add now that where you see in parentheses the number 2, the number is always 2 or more because we decided that we're going to do everything in at least pairs. It's just not only more fun to work with someone else when you're doing something, but especially as volunteers, we always need to have backup. So you go on vacation, you don't want to feel guilty or take your computer with you. You have somebody else who can cover for you. If you have to suddenly stop, then while we're waiting for someone else to join, the work still goes on. Okay. And then the next is the public awareness team. So this is a huge part of this program, is trying to get 1.4 million people to have heard of invasive plants and know the difference between that and a native plant and want to do something about it, or if not do something about it themselves, which most of them won't, to support our community doing something about it. So one of the most important parts of this will be social media. Now, I've not paid as much attention to social media as I probably should have. I mean, we have social media for Plant Nova Natives, obviously. But what we learned quite recently, having done a survey with a company that was paid to do an official semi-scientific survey of the public is that when people learn about native plants, at least half the time or more, it's through social media. When you think about that, that really makes sense. That's where a lot of people get their news and where a lot of people spend their time. And there are many creative things that can be done on social media. We want to be very effective in that realm. So having people who are able to make the content and probably the same people, but not necessarily the same people, to monitor the sites and, reply to comments, etc. This is going to be a really important part of the campaign. So if you have talents in that direction or any interest in that direction, it would be really helpful to sign up. Another thing is that a lot of this is the written word. So if we're going to have a newsletter, we need people to write the newsletter and organize the newsletter, write articles for magazines or anywhere else that we can find publications to publish them, and find and look for those magazines, look for those opportunities. And if we're sending, and each of these teams is going to need to communicate with its volunteers. So, a certain amount of writing is needed for that. And you wouldn't think that that would necessarily require an extra person, but it's very helpful if you have somebody who's dedicated to do that. And let's see. Okay. Right. So I mentioned the newsletter already. Very important job is just organizing that, getting the material in from other, getting submissions, putting it together, publishing it on time, and maintaining a contact list of the people who would receive such a newsletter. And then there's the website, also a really important way to communicate. We already have a little website, which I sent the link, so you probably took a look. That's just the sort of the beginning of it. It's still open to design change if the website team takes a look and thinks that maybe a different design would be desirable for any reason. And then we have at least 10 pages already mapped out, maybe 15, that will be going up on the website soon. And then on an ongoing basis, we need to keep it organized and make changes as needed. Website management does not actually require experience, but it's helpful if you've done it before, obviously, or if you have like some kind of sense of what would be the word, like aesthetic balance, just a little bit of an artistic sense to have things mapped out nicely. But beyond that, you definitely don't need to know about invasive plants. So then again, it helps. It always helps to have experience, but it's not required for this. If this is something you want to get into and help with, and haven't done before, that's definitely a possibility. Okay, so back to public awareness team. Questions about all those things?
Well, I guess I'll just jump in, Margaret, that I have volunteered to help Lynn, and certainly anybody else that maybe on this call or that you come across who would, like to take a leadership role would be helpful, because there is a lot here. And so we're had a organizing meeting, and we're sort of stumbling along and have a next meeting scheduled. So we're sort of underway, but obviously, as you say, could use a lot more help in each of those subcategories.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. Right, it sounds like your team could just use more people organizing the whole thing, as well as organizing some of these specific projects.
Yes.
Yeah, so if anybody's interested in that, just email us and let us know. That would be fantastic. And in fact, you're welcome to be in on, for any one of these teams, the expectation would be that you'd be welcome to all the team meetings, not just about your stuff, because it's helpful to know what's going on and we want your input. We need more people's input. Okay, so the survey team,
Let's see, Joe's got her hand up there too.
oh, okay, good.
Yeah, thank you. A point on the different elements that are listed here for the public awareness theme. It lists out all the different things that the different subgroups have to do and whatnot. But I do think that there is an element, and probably this implicit, but I would like to put it on the table for my own clarity. And it is that this group fits from the activities that the other groups are doing. A writer won't be able to write in the vacuum without knowing what are the things that are happening, or the social media won't have that amazingly cool designs and pictures unless the other teams facilitate and help beef up this team. So, it is sort of an underlining of the important coordination that this team ought to have with the other ones to be able to use their example, their practices, the good anecdotes to be able to beef up the different elements of this group.
Makes sense.
And so there has to be sort of a clear identification. It is that the leads of the different teams, the tool leads of the different teams, periodically meet with the leads of this public awareness team to keep them abreast of things that are happening, for people to go and take pictures of whatever something cool that is happening. So it has to be sort of a formal structure for this to take place, because different people are going to be doing different things, and we need to sort of radiate our information through different media. So
Yes, it's kind of interesting to be building an organization that we know from the get-go needs to include huge numbers of people in different parts. We're not growing one little part at a time the way volunteer organizations often do. We recognize that time is short. That it gets more expensive every year, more difficult every year to get a handle on the invasive plant problem. So we're rushing it, but I think we know what we're doing, and we'll be able to handle this. But yeah, we need a lot of people to do it. A lot of. Okay, so survey team, again, you need lots of people who want to go out there and record the infestations, especially in the parks. And in fact, we've made a bit of a commitment to the parks that we will help them with that. They definitely want us to help be their eyes on the ground, so to speak, with 23,000 acres just in Fairfax County Park Authority, plus all the other park services. And, maybe they have between them 30 people who are out there working on natural resources, and that's kind of a high estimate. It's got to be the community that finds these places and lets them know where there's a problem. And so, yeah, this is one of these things that if you are ever going to be taking a walk in a park, it would help tremendously if you could take a picture of of any really bad infestations and report it. But that's just like for everybody. Then we need people to organize them. And a lot of that has to do with taking the reports that people have and using the mapping software to fill in the details. Personally, I find mapping really, really fun. It's not for someone who isn't, really comfortable with a computer, but it's not difficult to learn as long as you're comfortable with the computer. And the same goes for the tree counts. We are continuing that that we started through Plant Nova Trees, where people count the trees in their neighborhood that are infested by vines, and then you just need to make a little map so that people know that someone already took around the door hangers, that we've counted the trees there. Okay. Questions about surveying and the coordination of that?
So is there a overlap? I'm trying to reconcile the coordination between the site visits and the survey teams, so that site visits are basically institutions that are requesting visits to
Mhm.
get consultation on how to manage, but we do mention mapping or
Mhm.
quantifying the invasives that they have. So is there, I'm trying to reconcile how we're going to manage that overlap between the site visits and the survey team.
Yeah, there's a couple
Are
things.
we using the same software? Will we be
Um,
using the same software?
Yeah, probably not. Let me just say maybe. Okay.
Okay.
You can use the IMAP invasive software to map out a site, a specific site. You can do that. But I think that for most like HOA, common land, or whatever, it's not so huge that you necessarily have to have it all carefully mapped out. And so the people doing the site visits may or may not want to go to the trouble of making a detailed map.
I
But
gotcha.
they can. So definitely they can use the software for that purpose if they think it's going to be useful. The other thing that's a very minor mapping job is just, when you get the address of the HOA or whatever, you put that on a map and you have the address of the volunteers and you can see who's close by.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Margaret.
Okay, workforce development team. This refers to training people, mostly on invasive plant identification and management. And of course, as you know, there are many, many, many such events going on already, and presumably will continue, but we need even more. So, for example, the Fairfax County Park Authority Tree Rescuer Program is well, anyway, the plan is for that to expand greatly, so that hopefully we might have volunteers in every park doing that. And that is mostly being done by volunteers right now, and we need more people to do the training. So that, of course, is something that requires a lot of experience. And then we need people to organize it. Okay, so Heidi Allen has been doing that work. The Anastasia Mejia from the IMA program is taking on some of that, but we don't want our IMA staff to spend a whole lot of time doing paperwork when what we really need is for them to be out in the field. I'm sure it's what they prefer as well. So definitely we need volunteers to help keep track of the training project for Fairfax County Park Authority and just in general. And also the workforce development team is looking at what's needed to help professional landscape companies like lawn and landscape companies get up to speed on invasives management. We are hopeful, we would anticipate that this is potentially a good business opportunity for them. And because they have a very big problem, which is that the end of November, they essentially have to lay off the workers that they spent the season training, and then rehire or try and rehire them in the spring. But a lot of time they've moved on, so they have to like retrain. It's very difficult business. But if we can generate enough demand, then and get them trained on the most basic invasive management, then they could have year-round jobs, and that would be good. But anyway, we're developing a training program for them, and we would love help with developing that force. Questions about workforce development, volunteer or professional?
Margaret, I can speak for a moment about the volunteer part. So one of the things that I do as a tree rescue trainer for the Park Authority as a volunteer, and I am master naturalist, and I take a watershed approach because I represent Friends of Homes Run. That's my thing. Anyway, I do trainings up and down the watershed, during the cold seasons, especially when it's really easy to get at the trees. And I train anywhere from like 1 person to 80 people at a time. Obviously, with 80 people, I have additional help in training them. And then what I have to do is just coordinate with Heidi Allen, so that she knows, I have permission to do it in my watershed. That's sort of a blanket permission, including in the resource protection area. So the role that Margaret's talking about, that Heidi fills right now, is critical, because it basically means she's helping to keep track not only of what I do when I send her, oh, here's the sign-in sheets that the Park Authority gave us, and here's all the names on it. She kind of tracks all of that and helps when a new tree rescue volunteer wants to get trained. She's often the first interface, and then she will farm them out to me when they are ready for actual in-person training, when they've done the sort of online portion. So I just want to give a picture as to what kind of thing Heidi does, in case that's a skill set for somebody who's, organized, who has a little time at home, would rather be, working in a support role like that, for whatever reason. Thanks.
Can I ask you a question, Whitney? Would Heidi be the one to contact for something like that?
Right now, to find out in terms of what,
Just more information on that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if
Okay.
assuming that Margaret agrees, but I think there's room for, if we do more parks, more trainers of the sort that I am. Most tree rescue volunteers only have permission to do their own work in the parks, not train people. But they're going to rely more and more on folks like me, who have that extra layer of permissions. That's going to increase the workload on someone like Heidi. So it's time to get some extra help. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I guess so. Yeah. Well, yeah.
The program's a little bit in flux, trying to decide how much Anastasia is going to take on. I think I don't think it's entirely clear, but what is clear is that more help will be needed coordinating, yes, one way or the other. And Heidi would know all the details. Okay, all right. Well, and then the next team is the corporate outreach team. All right, so where is the money going to come from? Money could come from all of these, major corporations that could, if they chose, adopt a park apiece and take care of the money problem. It is a lot of just emails and talking to people and trying to network to get the contacts to talk to the right person in the corporation. Again, I see this as a critical part of a successful campaign, and by far the hardest one to recruit people to do. So right now, I'm going to put in a pitch for stretching ourselves, okay, because I can think of very few things I would rather do less. But if I had to, and in fact, I have helped with this, and I found it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. So please, if you have any kind of nerve and willingness to help with this part of the project, please step forward. And you will not be alone. It will be a team of people. Liz and Dave are leading that. to start going through the companies and try and get them to do this. So questions about that or comments, Liz or Dave or anyone else?
I guess I'm wondering how much outreach may have been done by the county government or schools or parks to corporations. And, as you say, I don't, that's probably an element of coordinating this is, what have companies been hit up for already? And,
right, it's very important to coordinate with the Fairfax County Park Foundation, and also the Community Foundation of Northern Virginia, which raises money for Nova region for the regional parks. Yeah, we have to be careful not to be robbing Peter to pay Paul.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Or offending people. Okay, and then grants. We can function on not much money if we have to, but what we would love to do is get grants to do more. And one of the things that would be more would be to reproduce the extremely successful project that Plant Nova Natives and Northern Virginia Bird Alliance did together, which was to get some money and divvy it out as mini grants to homeowners associations and faith communities to get them started. Because what the observation is there's nothing like a little bit of a promise for free money, even if it isn't even all that much. Free money gets people off their butt and working on something they've been thinking of. And it's very helpful for volunteers to be able to go to their boards and say, we need to save our trees and here's some matching money to help us do it. How could you say no? So we would need people to help us write those grants proposals and to then manage the grants. There's a fair amount of coordination needed to get in the applications and sort through them and, and then keep track of what they're doing and then get them paid at the end. It's like that. It's time consuming, but really, really worthwhile. All righty, and then we're at the end. So I sent you a link, but I'm going to send it again to a place where you could rank these things. Hopefully, if you're on this call, you're willing to put some of them. And the reason why I didn't just say, please tell us what you want to be on, was in case everyone decides they want to be on the same team and no one wants to be on the other teams. Tell us a bunch of teams that you'd be willing to be on, and we'll try and give you your first choice. And everything people can move around. You're not stuck. But would be what you'd be starting with, and you'd join that team. So I am ready to stop sharing. And what other thoughts or questions people might have at this point?
Margaret, Donna was wondering who offers grants.
We actually have several possibilities. And the first is a grant from the Virginia Department of Forestry will be administering that was put in the budget a year ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, specifically to help new prisms in Virginia get started. Okay. Since there's only one other prism getting started in Virginia right now, and that's the Northern Neck, we ought to be a shoo-in for that grant. So should be easy. Then there are others. So the Virginia Department of Forestry has other kind of grants, and Chesapeake Bay Trust has grants. There are a few. Now, of course, grants in general are going to be harder to come by right now because so many of them come indirectly from the federal government. Hopefully we can find maybe some private foundations and people who are interested who will be willing to be grantors. Kathleen?
Hi. I'm wondering about the time commitment for some of the different positions. I imagine they vary. But is that something to be determined once there's a fit, or is that something you can give us a sense of now?
Let's see. Let me think about.
Like, for example, the community representative, where you're educating your community. I mean, that could be huge or small. Like, what's the expectation?
Okay, well, so that one in particular is completely flexible, right? And I should, and as for that, and all those other ones that were in blue, right? This is a really long-term project. So this, it's completely flexible. We figured that people would start out maybe taking around the door hangers if that hasn't been done yet. That'd be, for example, that'd be an easy way to start for many people. And they do that the weekends when they feel like it, whatever. But just the idea would be to have the intention to try and reach out, whatever means is works.
I see. Okay.
That
And
one,
what about, oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Website managers.
I don't think that's going to be heavy at all. There's a certain amount of work to be done to get the initial changes put up. And after that, it's just going to be, maybe once a week, there'll be something else that needs to get switched out or added or whatever. That'd be a guess. And then there'll be several people on the team. Yeah, long term, that should be light. Short term, there's more work just to get it all going.
Great.
Margaret, so I have seen many similar names now on a few of these meetings. So, and I know that folks are, kind of jumping into aspects of this, but obviously there are many jobs and roles. And I guess I'm wondering where additional folks might come from. I mean, for example, with the website team, Aurora and Walter have been fabulous, young folks who do this. And so I don't know where you may have found them and recruited them. But I guess I'm wondering whether this group or the steering committee has thoughts about, what trying to find folks through Fairfax Master Naturalists or Master Gardeners or through George Mason or, where other volunteers, it might be productive to find them.
Right. Well, right. We are, of course, so intimately connected to Plant Nova Native. We have a 6,000 person mailing list who will be hearing about these things now that we're more organized. Especially when the website, when the website's kind of finalized, that's when we'll start putting it out there. But the other thing is that my experience, and this is actually another place where organizers are really needed. My experience is that the way you get volunteers is you ask them one at a time. So we know so many people who are interested in this. They may not have yet said, oh, I'll be an organizer. But I bet you anything, if I wrote them and said, could you write articles or could you help with a newsletter? They would say yes. But you need the time to do that. I don't think we'll have trouble as long as we can find the time to ask. Katie?
I just want to put a plug in for community reps. We're hoping everybody who's involved at all will take on their own community. And as community rep committee, we're hoping to systematize it to make it really easy so you can disseminate a lot of information. And then we're trying to find people to help coordinate invasive removals and events, but we're hoping to systematize it so it does become easy. And everybody on this call and everybody who touches the organization takes on their own community. And then we can have barn raising events. It'll be fun. We're trying to figure out, make it where we have support for the community reps.
Yeah, right. That's great. So right. So I assume you'd like be putting out an email every week or two saying, pass this on, and then all you have to do is post it.
Yeah, I would like to be a community rep for sure. Obviously, I have a neighborhood near me in mind, and I certainly would love to expand on my own neighborhood as, helping out. But Katie, thank you. I think that's kind of what's missing in my head is the materials with which to present, the problem to the community and how to kind of cohesively contact these folks and get them interested in what's going on around them. And I think I can do that on my own, more or less. But I'm looking forward to helping out with that and maybe coordinating some sort of materials that these reps can, get their hands on to communicate with communities. So thanks. I think that's what I'm missing as far as my hesitation right now in getting this community involved with helping me remove their invasives. So thank you.
Absolutely. And we are looking for, when we get a handful of people that are interested, we were talking in our last brainstorming about running a Zoom for the community reps to kind of equip you to
Yes.
share ideas. So
Thank you. Yes.
definitely stay in touch.
I will. I would love to be, you got my name.
Yep.
Find me.
Yay.
Okay.
We will.
Okay. Perfect.
Sign her up on your team.
If I, sorry, Margaret, I'm on my phone. I never can figure out how to raise my hand.
Oh, sorry.
So my role is the workforce development team, which I co-run with Christina Watts. We've been very gratified by the conversations we've had with, excuse me, the kinds of landscapers who are themselves small businesses but have already kind of drunk the Kool-Aid thanks to Margaret and the amazing work that she has done over the years. A lot of them, work with all Spanish crews, and we've been, we've had a lot of wonderful reception from sustainable garden designers who are so frustrated because they burn out because they come up with clients and great ideas for gardens, but then they can't find a team to work with. So they end up having to be on site all the time. So there does seem to be a real market niche. And we're trying to talk to the trade associations. So I mention all this because if you, for example, anyone in this call, either have an interest in writing grants, that we know what we want to say. It's just that, it would be helpful if we had someone who knows grant writing. If you are a teacher and especially if you are, someone who understands curricula, that's not necessarily what we're going to be doing from scratch, but it's helpful to have a volunteer who's looking over our shoulders and working with us on, what do we need to consider? It's stuff like that. So if you've got a set of skills, you don't know exactly where to put those skills, perhaps just reaching out to Margaret after this call and saying, okay, I'm organized, or I'm really not organized, or whatever that thing is that is you, and the kind of timing you have, time frame you have, maybe just marking down just what your commitments can be and your skill sets. There can be a match, even if it's not right away.
Great idea. Okay. I think we're wrapping it up. Thank you so much, everybody. Any final thoughts or questions?
No, I'm sending you an email about the about volunteering for the website. There's no email on the website, so that was a challenge, and hopefully something that can be fixed quickly.
There's a contact form. I thought.
It is, yes, I had to fill that out already.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Yes. We have various little glitches to figure out. Thank you very much. Donna.
Yeah, just to be sure of what the next step is, you want us to fill out the form and rank areas. Is that what you're saying for volunteering in if we're interested?
Yes, and there's lots of room for comments there. You can add whatever other information you like.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Margaret. So where is the form?
It was in the email I sent out with the Zoom link.
Okay.
Send it out again now. Well,
I
send
got
it out as soon as I have the recording ready.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. See you around.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, Margaret. Great organizing as always.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. all.
Thank you.